Gen TV, powered by Azure. We're so excited today to have with us Esteban Olivares from Summer Discovery. Esteban, welcome.
Thank you, George. Good to be here.
What an incredible moment in time to have you here with us on Ideagen TV. I know you have an incredible power panel on future global leaders with you today. And I wanted to say, my gosh, it seems like yesterday that we were sitting at the United Nations talking about this very issue of creating a future global leaders academy. And here we are today having launched the Future Global Leaders Academy together with Ideagen and Summer Discovery.
Yeah, we are excited about this new partnership and the opportunity to provide these leadership experiences for students and then to create those future leaders.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, and I must note at the onset before you launch into your interview, that we'd like to applaud you and Summer Discovery for having that strategic foresight to pivot to online learning, to afford students across the planet literally the opportunity to continue learning, because after all, it's all about lifelong learning, and cultivating as well those future global leaders is so important. And in addition to that, I'd like to add that you have been a leader and a supporter of Ideagen and our mission to achieve those 17 broad global goals of the United Nations from the very beginning, Esteban. From the very beginning, you have been a supporter of helping in any way you can, and now through your role at Summer Discovery, to help achieve those broad global goals of the UN. By the way, unanimously agreed to by all 193 member states of the United Nations, including the United States of America. And so I applaud you for that. We're so excited and cannot wait to hear your incredible perspectives and insights, along with those of your guests today, to future global leaders.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
So today, for the summit, we have Jackie O'Hara, a student at UC Berkeley, and Vasikli Argyropoulos, a student at Vanderbilt. And let's jump right into the questions and get to know these two global leaders, youth leaders. So a question for each of you. Can you tell us about some of the issues, activities, and actions that you as future global leaders have addressed, with the pressing issues of the United Nations SDGs? So tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of tell us about some of those actions and initiatives that you're working on. Jackie, you want to start?
Yeah, that sounds great. Hi, I'm Jackie. It's been quite an interesting last few months, and a lot of the things I've been doing has pivoted towards online learning. So currently I'm working with Eisenhower Fellowships to promote women in STEM and improve diversity in male-dominated fields. And so that has been my big initiative for the most part. So I was really excited to work with my community to found Academic Pipeline. It is an online supplemental learning program that is free for all students. We're even collecting donations so we can help low-income students with technological deficiencies. And so that has been our biggest shift so far during this pandemic. But in terms of just what we've all been doing is not only online supplemental learning, but also with my work at Berkeley, we've been working to support women who have been financially burdened over the pandemic by providing free menstrual products and sanitary products for them. So their burden doesn't have to, choose between menstrual products and food on the table for them or their loved ones. And so those are kind of some of the things we've been working on right now. And I'm super excited to continue those goals. And those are really big pillars for the UN, right? Which is gender equity, sanitation initiatives, as well as, academic and educational opportunity.
Well, that's wonderful to hear.
Sounds perfect. So as Jackie said, I also have been involved with education technology during this period of COVID. So I actually decided to hop on board and help out a startup in the ed tech field that actually originally started doing blended learning in Korea. And now they're actually trying to pivot and trying to make the charter school system a lot more accessible and able to have that blended learning path moving forward in the future, which, education as we know it is going to be completely changed. COVID's going to be a catalyst for a lot of, education technology startups and different businesses and avenues. And another thing I'm doing, I actually started my own nonprofit a little bit back in the day. And what we do is we take old and used cell phones and recycle them for money. And then with that money, we buy orphans and foster home children toys. But we decided to do a bit of a pivot during COVID, and we're actually helping with sanitation in New York. We're actually producing masks and sending them out in mass quantities out to New York to help them out with everything that's going on now. So definitely pressing times, and it's making us think about how this is going to change our life drastically.
Wow. Both of you are just doing some amazing things, empowering women, sanitation, education, all very important things in upholding the SDGs and meeting those goals by 2030. So when we're talking about youth, and it seems that both of you are working with youth as well, what are some of the concerns that need to be addressed in achieving the SDGs, specifically with respect to global innovation, but also other relevant goals and addressing youth?
Yeah, I could take this one since I was second last time and just switch off. But couple things that I've noticed is, on the education piece, I think accessibility with online learning is going to be something that we really need to conquer. One would think that online learning makes things more accessible, which it does. However, a lot of times with, maybe kindergarten kids or kids that are younger, they need some sort of adult or some sort of learning coach. That's what a lot of people have been calling it these days, in order to help them aid their learning at home and in these online settings. So if we can figure out somehow how to kind of remove that aspect of it, I think it would be a lot more accessible, because not everyone has that older member, that parent that can help them actually achieve online learning to its full capacity. That being said, I also think, sanitation is pretty much just a immediate need for right now, and obviously like taking those best practices moving forward. But that's kind of one of the big issues I see, is the accessibility, which is pretty counterintuitive.
Yeah, I agree. Those are some really big issues. Accessibility is, something that we're still trying to find ways. And I think it just shows how important it is that we create, a diverse team of, fields and perspectives, because it's difficult when you have a homogeneous community that is trying to create access for everyone. We end up finding that it leads to unintentional bias, which we're seeing in a lot of the AI and programs that are being currently used now, and that are going to be further developed with this push to online learning. And so it's really important that now more than ever, we really work to enhance the diversity and opportunity for women and minorities to, get a seat at the table. So I think that is a huge thing. And I think, all of these goals are interconnected in some fundamental way, right? You can't have opportunities without economic advancements. You can't have economic advancements without some form of sanitation and some form of infrastructure and agricultural security. And, so they are all interconnected, which is why it's sometimes really difficult to pick one thing or a few things that are most important to focus on. But for the most part, I think something that's, really fundamental to all of these goals is education, and is, economic empowerment of diverse groups. And so those are some of the things that we've been working on specifically, because those will, cascade and have a domino effect on all the other goals, in my opinion. And so those are some really fundamental ones to me.
Thank you. And as we know, that the goals, they're big, they're worldwide, they're global. And I think sometimes there's misconceptions about the role that youth can play in helping design that framework to meet the goals. And so what's your perception on some common misconceptions that may be out there of the role that youth can play?
So I think the biggest misconception is they're too young, they don't know enough, leave it to the adults. And I understand where people get those from, right? We have this societal perception of, kids just should be kids and that's fine. But, kids are passionate. They love learning. They're curious and, they're learning right from wrong in such a young age. And, they want to build on that and build things and, help people. And I don't think we should ever put obstacles in kids' ways to, do those things. And if anything, we should be building bridges for them, connecting them with people and mentors that, are only just going to further this, love for their community and this passion of theirs. And so I think that is, fundamental.
I definitely agree with that statement. I think that there's maybe sometimes unconscious or conscious biases towards kids thinking that they're not capable. I know I first started my first entrepreneurial venture actually in middle school, and I, something in my head was like, I can do this. I have full capacity to do this. And I think, that's contrary to what society teaches you as a young kid. And I don't think we should ever cap people's potential or ever, cap their aspirations, even if it is traditionally too young. I think we should encourage them and, like Jackie said, lead them to mentors. And honestly, I actually think that leading kids towards, engineering at a young age can be really important in creating innovation down the line. And, there's been a recent call to build and have like our education focus on building. And like I'm a computer science minor, and I feel that even an understanding of technology or engineering ingrained in young kids can help us all build and actually create things that can make society better as a whole.
Thank you for those insights. I think it's agree with you. It's very important that we empower youth. With Summer Discovery and Ideagen, we're focusing on this Future Global Leaders program, to provide the tools for youth to learn about the SDGs, how to raise awareness, and to come up with solutions to real world problems. So that cross-sector collaboration, we're committed to providing that opportunity with Ideagen. Do you have any suggestions or ideas for leaders in education or leaders in social innovation and technology? What more can we do to empower youth, and especially providing the tools that they need to become future leaders?
Definitely. So I actually think we should use technology and online education as a strength. So I think there's a common misconception of how do we get what we're doing in person onto online? Well, I think we should be looking at it as how do we make online better than what we can do in person? And I think that small little shift is so important. And I think that this could be amazing. Like we could have, a public school system in, Maryland, which is where I'm originally from, and a public school system in California collab over the internet. And that increases diversity, that increases conversation, people in different neighborhoods or different areas, which formerly in, the brick and mortar type sense has been focused on location, but now, location is boundless. So we can understand someone from a completely different country or a completely different city than us. And I think that would be something cool to jump on and really explore in education moving forward.
Yeah, I love that point. I really think the internet has the power to, connect us all and create a wonderful network for young students, especially to meet people, be inspired, learn, become culturally aware of, just the place that they're living in and other places. And so that's an excellent point. I think, some of the biggest things would be empowering young students in these fields with growth mindsets, showing them that, they can take it, like Vasily said, one step forward and, it really improve on what we have now. There's so much that we can, build constructively with the power of AI and the internet and, online learning. And I don't think that, we're ever going to go back anytime soon. I think we have so many people that are working to implement wonderful programs that are really going to enhance learning, allow students to learn at their own pace, which I think is something that brick and mortar schools have been struggling to promote ever since, time began. So it's going to be really interesting to see how educators are going to shift in this time, as opposed to, coming back. I think, online learning is going to be really, really interesting in the future. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Totally agree with both of your statements. I think the online learning and kind of video conferencing with professors, or working on a group project with somebody from Asia and somebody from South America who's working with a student on the East Coast in the US. Those are just amazing opportunities that we're just not always able to do in the brick and mortar. And it's real time, and we're looking at solving real world problems, and we can use technology to kind of level that playing field, but at the same time encourage instructors and educators to do some dynamic learning and using that technology to provide those dynamic experiences. Definitely, as we are looking at what needs to be addressed. Is there anything that you think we're kind of leaving out of the discussion when it comes to innovation and youth?
I can name a few. I think, socioeconomic disparity means that, the people leading this education and, online and drive, right, all the programs and different measures, right, that we're implementing is made by people who, is not as diverse as we would like to see. And I think, that has a lot to do with the economic situation of our country, how spread out it is, as well as, gender equity issues, right, where we see very few women in STEM fields, especially in coding and computer science, and the fields that are really taking off right now and are going to be really fundamental to the future of, how online learning is going to be and how all of these, internet programs are going to start coming about. And so really empowering these people to get a seat at the table, become, change makers, and, really get the whole of our country and, our world a voice, and equally, equitably, accessibly involved in this transition that we're all experiencing during this pandemic is so important. I just cannot understate it. Really bring out how we as a community can empower one another through AI and internet, right? Like, we have so much power to share here, right? It's not about slicing the pie, it's about making the pie bigger. And we have that opportunity here right now. This internet is such a way to level out disparities across the field if we do it right, and if we, pay attention to these things. And so that is something that, we really do have to be mindful of. We have to be mindful of who's running these programs, who's creating these programs. Are they ethically sound? Is the data they're using sourced ethically with consent? Do people understand what's going on when their data is being used and analyzed and turned into code? Things like that are just so, so important. And I really want to see how it goes in the future.
Yeah, I agree with everything Jackie just said. But to continue on, I actually think that something, a really big problem that I've seen recently is that society, or just in general, is society puts people into boxes. And you're almost kind of pivoted against the other box. And society can be very competitive, which at the same time could have some good aspects. But like, let's say, like, even with political parties, like, if you're fully one party versus another, then that causes a lot of hate. And I think that if we can get across these hateful boxes or these lines and just kind of all come together and look at a person not based on their gender or race or political thoughts, and just look at them as like their individual person, and the personality and character and things.
So I definitely agree that it's going to be a great equalizer, um, providing these online learning opportunities, and really how we choose to use that technology is going to be very important. For one of the experiences in the Summer Discovery Online program, where students enrolled in the Ideagen Future Global Leaders Academy, they'll also be able to engage in some outside activities. And one speaker series that we're excited about is the future of work, and we want to bring in folks from technology and tech to talk about what impacts AI, machine learning will have on the future of work, regardless of what field you're in. So I think you're hitting the vein, and definitely we're excited about things this summer. So as students are kind of thinking about what do I do for summer, and maybe they're looking at the Ideagen Future Global Leaders Academy website, and they find out that they can learn about the SDGs, they can raise awareness, they can get the tools to develop their own action plans. What words of advice do you have for those future leaders who are they haven't done an action in the past, or they haven't done an awareness campaign? They're going to learn those skills in the academy. Do you have any words of advice for them?
Yeah, I think, starting something can, ultimately be intimidating, especially at such a young age. And it's all about resilience and grit. And if you are passionate, then you shouldn't let anything or anyone stop you. There's no such thing as ever doing too much to help, your community. And I just hope that they all can, look up to all the amazing people in Ideagen, this program, and see how many people are out there ready to root for them. And I'm ready to root for you. Mentorship is so important. And I promise you all, you upcoming leaders, you're going to do great things. You just have to keep going. And even when it's hard, even, when there's obstacles, have that growth mindset to succeed, and ask for help when you need it, and do your best. And that's all anyone can ever ask of you. So good luck, everyone.
Yeah, good luck to all the future leaders. I say, just be a doer. Just go out there and, things may be uncertain. Things might not always work out, but just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And, one day it's going to break through. And I also would suggest that, becoming accustomed with uncertainty is really important just in life in general, because, in school, you probably always have an answer sheet. There's always something to check your work on. But in real life and, in entrepreneurship, or if you're building a campaign or whatever, you essentially won't have that. And sometimes solving problems takes years, and you just have to kind of keep pushing through. I also think that know your motivation. So like kind of take time to journal and think internally what motivates you. And for everyone, that's something different. But once you have that anchoring, nothing can stop you. And that's like an internal confidence and something internal that will never change, and it will drive you forward to success and beyond.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you, Jackie and Vasily. We're definitely going to have to figure out a way to have you come and talk with our students. We can definitely leverage technology and bring you into the classroom. I think that's one of the amazing things. So we should definitely talk offline about that.
Perfect. Yeah.
Would be honored. So excited.
So I just want to remind everyone that the Future Global Leaders Academy, the first session is June 29th. And there's information on Ideagen's website. You can also find information on the Summer Discovery website. And we encourage folks to call in, apply, and be part of this amazing initiative. Thank you.